بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم افتح علينا بحكمتك وانشر علينا برحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. We have 6 weeks left in the class. This is the second class on the great principal imams of the law schools. And what we will do tonight, inshallah, is to talk about Medina and to talk about the scholar who embodied the Medinan tradition, or at least the most conspicuous Medinan tradition, and that's Malik, and then the school that grew out of his followers that is called the Maliki school, which is the dominant school in Africa and the dominant school in Muslim Spain and Muslim Portugal and Muslim Sicily and in other parts of the world as well. But it's essentially today a Western Muslim school, meaning that it's in the western part, North Africa, West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. East Africa is often not Maliki. Next week we want to go to Kufa, the great garrison city of Iraq, and of course Medina was the great caliphal city, the great city where the Prophet made hijrah and where the caliphate was first established. So it was much more than a garrison city, it was actually a capital. But we'll go to the greatest garrison city of them all, which is the city of Kufa. We talked last time about the importance of garrison cities, and that when you have a legal scholar in the early period who's not associated with a garrison city, they don't become great schools of law. Now, as Yahya pointed out, it would be mistaken to regard that as the reason why law schools develop, because there are many in the garrison cities also that don't come to much. But the garrison cities were very important, so that's an element to be considered. But it's certainly not the sole element. And in Kufa, you have a number of traditions. But one of those traditions is a tradition that will come to be embodied in Abu Hanifa. And it will be called later the Hanafi school of law, which is the largest of all the schools, and which takes in most of the Muslims of Eurasia, the Muslims of Central Asia, of Turkey, of India, of China, and elsewhere. It's a huge school. And most of the Muslims in America, especially those of immigrant background, are Hanafis. That's the dominant school. So it's very important for us to look at it closely. Malik and Abu Hanifa were contemporaries. They belonged to the same generation. And Ash-Shafi'i and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who are the great imams of the Shafi'i school and the Hanbali school that we talk about later, they were also of the same generation. They are one generation younger than Malik and Abu Hanifa. So the great imams, the Sunni imams and the Shi'i imams, they all belong roughly to the same time. All of the schools trace their origins back to a legal figure who is roughly of the same time. And this time is 3 to 4 generations after the Prophet, peace be upon him. So you have the Prophet, you have the companions, you have the successors. And then you come right into the generation of Abu Hanifa and Malik. They belong to the successors of the successors. So you have 1, 2, 3 generations. Shafi'i is the 4th generation. So they are they're in the 2nd century of the Islamic era, which is the 700s in the Common Era. It's a long time ago, but this is early Islamic history. This is the formative period of Islamic law. So we have then 3 sessions that will focus on Malik and Abu Hanifa. After that we have 3 sessions more And we want to look at the Shia schools in general. Probably one session devoted to that. And then we need to look at the other Sunni schools, the Shafi'i school and the Hanbali school. And inshallah we'll try to tuck in some other things here and there. But that's the way that we look at the classes over the next 6 weeks, okay? Again, my dissertation, which is available, Malik's concept of amal. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, by the way. The non-textual source, which is critical to the Maliki school, is amal, which means practice. The practice of Medina, the way that people do things in Medina. So this is a distinctive aspect of Maliki law, and my dissertation focused on that. And it's available at the University of Chicago. It's also available through Bell and Howell University Microfilms. It's also on PDF file. And although the dissertation focused on Malik, it deals with the Sunni schools. So everything that we're going to talk about that deals with legal reasoning, Shafi'i legal reasoning, Hanbali legal reasoning, Hanafi and Maliki, you can find it there. And inshallah it's relatively easy to read. Now, last week we mentioned Jonathan Brokop. And Jonathan Brokop is a young Orientalist who has written a book called Early Maliki Law, which is a very important work. He is fair. He is honest. He is a person who does really good work. He's highly competent. And he focuses on the Maliki school. So for what we're talking about tonight, for those of you who would be interested in sort of in-depth scholarly research, you might want to look at him. Again, if your interest is just the interest of a Muslim who wants to have an idea about what the ideas in the school are and so forth, that's not what he's really interested in. He's interested in how did this come about historically. And I don't agree with everything he says, but he has some very important ideas. He also has an article called Authority in Early Maliki Texts. And this is in a book by Bernard Weiss. Bernard Weiss is also a very, very good scholar, called Studies in Islamic Legal Thought. And this is a very important article. This is actually what I'll be looking at tonight. Early Maliki Thought, I won't probably take anything from that book, but we will take some things from this article. So again, that's just for those of you who would like to look into this a little bit further.